Welcome to Root Stem, and in this video we're going to be painting this Snikrot model. Hi guys, welcome to Root Stem, and if you do enjoy what you see, please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification button to watch more. Of course, pandemic has really, the entirety of COVID-19 has really kicked my ass when it comes to putting out regular content. I used to be able to put out a battle report once a week, and I used to be able to put out a painting video once a week. Unfortunately, that has gone a little bit haphazard. So I do apologise for any lacks in the channel's viewership or videos coming out, but hopefully everything will start coming back to normal now. Everything in the UK is starting to mellow out, although I do have a funny suspicion if people keep acting like idiots, then we're going to have a third lockdown. But there we go. Right, so today we have Snikrot, and yes, this is Snikrot without his head and his arm, which are here. And the reason I've done them separately is just it's going to make it really easy to actually paint. He is a fine cast model, so make sure that if you are building him, you go through it with a fine tooth comb to find every little nook and cranny that you can snip off. And I'll be honest with you, that is part of his necklace thing. Don't snip that off. I have made that mistake. In the past, not with this particular model, but I have made a mistake in the past. And this is his backpack, which I've kept off, just makes it easier to paint the remainder of his back without actually getting paint all over this. And as you can see, I've sprayed in two different colours. The backpack is primarily going to be a brown, so I've sprayed it dark because I like dark leather colours and actually building up. So this is going to start off black. So that's a chaos black that I've put on there. I have unfortunately missed little tiny pieces, which I will go in with a brush to reinforce in a moment. Majority of the flesh colour and his trousers out, I'm done this Mechanica standard grey. So I'm probably going to follow a shadow grey type trousers, sort of like just trying to keep it a bit more city sort of orientated. And we're going to have, of course, a standard orc body. But I do like if you saw my video tutorial the other week, with this little guy, I quite like the orc flesh, so I'm going to try and recreate that particular flesh on this model, because I know it's very early 90s, late 80s, early 90s orcs, but I really like that vibrancy that it gives, and I think sometimes some of the more modern orcs don't really have that. It's a bit more of a dull green. That's a proper I am green, I am alien. I am going to be starting, of course, then with Goblin Green. This is an old school colour. Yes, some of the original basing. I am not doing his base. But Goblin Green, if you do have it, the best way of kind of like the new modern colours, this will be Warboss Green in the more modern 40k range. And in the Leho, which is game colour and model colour, you'll probably find that this is still called Goblin Green, and the other one is called Pastel Green. So if you want to use those particular paints to do this, those are what you're going to need. Now, you can apply this. If you're going to apply this, I suggest using a wet palette and suggest doing it in multiple thin coats. I, though, will be putting it on. I'll be basing this using an airbrush. I'll not need to show you that because it's just going to be the base work, but it's mainly so I can put it on real quick and I haven't got to mess around with multiple layers because I'm lazy. Okay, now we've got this green down. Like I say, I airbrushed mine on. That can make it quite a light colour. And now we're going to need to darken it, and then we're going to put more Goblin Green on top. We're going to use a contrast paint. Contrast paint is actually quite good when it comes to shading. So we're just going to use this. I don't want to thin it. I might try technical contrast medium. Right, so I might actually thin it with a little bit of medium. Only because I don't want it to be too... And yeah, try and get a clean palette if you can. I am Mr. Mess. It's quite rich, because of course it has to go across, but I am wanting it quite dark. But I'm going to put 2 parts, I think, medium to 1 part flesh. Don't be too scared if it is too dark, simply because we are going to be coming back in with some more goblin green. Just poke that on there. Now, this will give a slightly different, hopefully a slightly different shade to the classic model that I painted. I'm not wanting to replicate it 100%, but I'm going to be using the classic greens as kind of like the base. So get that on there, let that dry, and then, like I say, what we need to do is to come back and put the goblin green back in. So that's now dried. It's given us a very good base to proceed. Right, now I have got more. I've actually got these little tubs from Green Stuff World, and it's the first time I'm going to be using them. So let's see. Ooh, I wonder if this is going to go everywhere. I've had to give it a shake up. So this is the green that I still had left in my pot. I'm not sure if I'm going to airbrush it on. Well, I think I've airbrush it on. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a brush. Let's go old school. And I'm going to use this paint, this leftover airbrush paint, which will be the same consistency as the one that's underneath. And we are going, oh, it's going to be all over my hands. And we're just going to apply it. Oh, now it should be thin enough with it being an airbrush paint. Just to be able to paint it straight on. Or I'm going to have to layer it. Ooh, most definitely. So this might take you a little while if you want to go over it with a, basically if you want to kind of skip this step a little bit, you can just use a bit of a dry brush, which I'll probably do anyway. I'm going to get this on as a bit of a base to begin with, and then I'm going to put a dry brush on there. Now you could, if you want to go back, if you've got the skill with a very narrow, or you've got a very narrow point on an airbrush, you want to go back in and airbrush this, you can do. I don't have the confidence for that because I wanted to try and get this quite accurate. So I'm going to be painting this back in. Right, crack on. There we go, put some layers on, and I have made sure to dry brush some of the goblin green. Now remember, goblin green is warboss green in the current range, sick green, goblin green and pastel green in 2 of the different Vallejo ranges. I've now got old school camo green. That is the same, it's camouflage green and olive green in Vallejo, and it's Elysian, I think that's how we say it, Elysian green in the current Games Workshop range. Now this is got some thickness to it, as you can see, makes it perfect for dry brushing if I'm completely honest with you. I'm going to wipe majority of this off, and we are just going to dry brush, soft brush, dry brush a little bit of this on. I'll do this a couple of times just to build it up. So I'm not going on heavy, because what we're going to do later is we'll get a bit of wet palette out and then we'll put it on from there. Get cracking. So we have put a little bit of edge highlighting using the camo green. As you can see, that's quite a nice Ork green that we've managed to get hold of there. It only takes 8 days, I'm joking. Right, so Graveyard Earth is going to be my next colour. This is mainly going to be for the trousers. Now, Graveyard Earth has Where have you gone? There we go. Steel Legion Drab would be the modern colour, and Earth or US Field Drab would be the equivalent on the Vallejo scale. Yes, it took me a while because I am using a chart to make sure that these are correct. I don't want to be giving you guys false info. It is lovely and thick with it being an older paint, so definitely wet palette time. Sure, this is a nice consistency that's going to come straight off the brush. No, we will need to, of course, do a dunk and apply 2 thin coats. Try and avoid, if you can, the boots, because we're going to be painting them a different colour, and try to avoid the straps, because these straps are going to be a different brown. Now the trousers are on, we're just going to get some new school. All I'm doing is Rhinox hide, and we're just going to be painting in all of the leather straps, and you also need to paint the backpack with Rhinox hide as well. I'm going to be using, again, just going onto my airbrush so that I can just make sure that I'm getting it painted quickly. Apologies, also paint the boots, the entirety of the boots except the metal plates, with this colour as well. So I've got my brown on, I airbrushed the brown on this one here, and we've basically been doing some Ushabti-bone. This is for the skulls, and just underneath the guy here, and we're going to basically be doing a little bit of highlighting using Mournfang Brown. Now this is going to be on the leather. I did a video, hopefully I'll be able to put it up here somewhere, on basically doing sort of like leather scratches. You don't really need to do a lot of the leather scratches on this. You can on the boots, but leave the boots. Don't actually. We're going to be doing that a red. No, we're not going to be doing that a brown. So my mistake. Don't do the boots. Try and just scratch leather if you can on here, and then on here just kind of try little bits if you possibly can do it with some Mournfang. Once Mournfang is down, we're going to get a smaller brush and we're going to use some desert yellow. Now this is very similar to Talan sand. We're going to use that for the rope. So basically any stitching, any of this bit, we're going to put some Talan sand. So anything that's like dangling, anything like that, we're just going to put some Talan, some desert yellow, aka Talan sand in there, so that we can start differentiating the stitch. Now same on the trousers. Make sure you get all the Talan sand / desert yellow in the trouser stitch as well. So let's just have a look. I'll show again just quickly what I mean by doing the rough highlighting on here, and then we'll get cracking with the rest. So basically you keep saying basically all the goddamn time, Paul. Apologies. Right, so what you do, just get a little bit of your Mournfang and just start to edge highlight your leather, making sure to get the edges more than, and then when you've got the edges, maybe do some striations, so a little bit of marks of where you would get natural wear and tear. Now we will be going over this with some washes and then coming back in, so we're just try and make sure that you can follow your cuts so that you can reinforce them later on. So I've got the desert yellow in. Of course, like I say, that's more like a Talan sand. That's all on the stitches, and of course and I've just avoided the ears because we'll be painting them up later. And it's on here, and as you can see, I'm starting to do the red. Now the red is, I'm using Red Go. Now Red Go is, yes, I'm looking across, is Wazdaka Red, or Gory Red, or Cavalry Brown, according to some of the Vallejo colours. Quite nice and thin. And all I'm doing is the boots on here. Now I'm also going to do the handle as well on his weapon. Now with it being quite nice and thin, it should be quite transparent. I should be able to get away with quite a dark red, especially using the brown as the base. So I'm picking up elements of the boots. I'm not going to utter the words, basically. But basically I do it all the time. There we go. Now you may need to do a couple of layers of this just to reinforce it. We'll probably be putting some wash on, so don't worry too much. Well, we will be putting some wash on it, so don't worry too much if it looks too red. And don't worry if you get it on other items, apart from the ones that you've already painted. Panic if you do that. Try and be as neat as you possibly can. It should be light enough and runny enough that if you do accidentally get it on something else, you can easily remove it. As you can see, I'm reinforcing now, just making sure those colours are going to pop. So we'll just give them the red boots. Once we've got the red on, let's get the all important A Greek's Earth shade. Games Workshop kind of shade or their washes are very, very thin, so I'm not quite sure what I would recommend to use in its place from other companies. I suppose you could use like I think they call it strong tone from Vallejo, but what I would recommend on doing with that is to kind of like water it down a little bit. I'm just going to put it on the palette so I can control it, but they are very runny. I might even absorb into my sponge. And we're just going to coat everything except the skin that we've currently painted. Now that that's dried, let's begin highlighting. So what I've done already is to done a little bit of Mournfang Brown and reinforced some of those scratches. I'll just show you on this one. So we're going to be doing just a little bit more, just picking out the edges, because now the Mournfang will have been dulled down. And we're just going to reinforce elements of it. So not everything, just bits. Now we're going to go back to the Graveyard Earth colour. We are just going to highlight making sure it's nice and thin. Just picking out elements that are raised up. Keeping my trousers quite dark, if I'm honest. Like I say, just picking out elements. I don't want everything picked out on that one. We are trying to keep a lot of it very dulled down for the orc. Now the red, just get that red again and just do little, again, just little elements. And we're just reinforcing the colour. It's like we've given ourselves our own little layering technique. Quite an old school technique this, I'll be honest. With somebody that will comment, it's not a technique. Right. Now let's do the arduous task of applying some lead belcher. Now what we're going to do, we're going to apply, so any sort of darkened silver would really work. It's going to be here. We're going to do a lot of the weapon, of course. We've got these. We're also going to paint up. These are like dog tags that he's got around. He's killed quite a few guys. We'll do the shoes elements. course, you've got the grenades. You pretty much nearly haven't got your buckles, so you could be doing that. Just be really careful. And various different other elements across here. Also, do the face mask as well. We're going to be doing that in the silver as well as the other arm. And I use a little bit of airbrush thinner just to try and get the... I think sometimes with water it doesn't really work with some metallics. I really do prefer using airbrush thinner. It's a personal thing, but I think it does actually give a better result. But let's get all of those painted. Right, so now we've got silver down, we need to then highlight it. So we've got basically 3 colours we're going to be using. I've got a nice rattle ball in there. We've got contrast black Templar, that's my stomach. This contrast black Templar is going to go on the booties. I'm going to paint the whole boot with that. And it's also going to go on the mask here. So that's going to give it a nice darker sort of metallic shade that we're currently looking for. Null oil, the traditional accompaniment to a lead belcher, is going on pretty much everything that is silver except the arm bits. That's going to be some Agrax Earthshade gloss. That's going to give it that slight hint of it being a little bit browner. So just make sure that everything's sorted. Just go through, like I say, black, black, Agrax, everything else, null oil. So we're getting some good progress. Now, I have put some Blood Angels red contrast paint on some areas, so basically just on the teeth. And I also did a little symbol that's on the front of his body there. I thought metallic red would look pretty cool on there. I'm going to get some Ushabti bone to paint in his teeth. Once I've done the Ushabti bone, I'm going to get some grey cere. And I'm going to paint these ears that's dangling from his neck. So the silver is going to be nice and done. We've got some Ushabti bone on. I have forgot to do the grey cere, so we'll get to that in a moment. But I've got some Stormhost silver here. And we're just going to do a little bit of the old dry brushing. I'm just going to gently have a smallest dry brush, quite heavy. Quite there we go. Just be careful, just catch those edges. It don't matter if it looks a little rough. It's Orks. At the end of the day, you're allowed to get away with it. Also, so like you can go back to your grey cere, paint this particular handle as well in grey cere, and then you've got a tooth which you should really paint in your Ushabti bone, which I should have done, but of course I've missed it. So guys, let's get the grey cere on. So we have the grey cere, and I've actually gone and done, if you guys can see that hopefully, I've actually gone and done the lenses on his eyes. If you want to see how the lenses, hopefully I'll put a video up here. If not, it'll be part of my painting tutorial section, my playlists. And we've also got the grey cere, and we've got the bone on this bit. Now, we're going to use dark oak flesh to begin with, straight from the pot. We're not going to bother messing around, thinning it or anything of that nature. We are literally just going to be painting this straight on those ears. I know like people say, oh, it could be rotting and everything else, but I am literally just quickly painting up the ears so we can now get the final touches of this model done. There we go. And now onto this bit. So this bit here, this is the final bit possibly on this backpack. I am just going to grab, hopefully I'm not going to smash camera too much. I might have to just pause. There we go. I'm just going to grab some Seraphim Sepia and we're going to put Seraphim Sepia over everything. So the bone handle, that'll give it a different kind of tone. Give it a different tone when it comes to the, actually that needs softening. I do need to clean my brushes because I've been working on this project. It will give the bone a slightly different kind of tone to the ones that we've got on underneath flesh, underneath his, between his legs, sorry. So we've got a wrap, and then we'll come back in, probably reinforce that bone again, and then that will be done. And there we go. He is done. I'm just going to put a bit of gloss varnish on his eyes once I've varnished him up properly. And that is Snikrot. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button if you do want to see more. If you ever fancy a little bit of a commission like some of these other models have from myself, just go to rootstem.co.uk and just send me a message. Tell me what your project ideas are and I'll give you a price. Well, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.